time to fall in, Spartans, because we are back for another episode of Halo the Series Declassified. This time we're joined by the woman behind it all, Dr. Halsey herself, Natasha Mcelhon. And we'll have a chat with series composer Sean Callery. Stick around because it's all going down right now. Welcome back to Reach, Halo fans. My name is Sydney Goodman, and this is the place where we go deep on the latest episode of Halo, including special guests and behind-the-scenes secrets. This was a huge episode with lots of big reveals, so I think it's only fair to have Cortana jump in for a sec. Cortana?
Hello again, Sydney. I'm just here to remind everyone that there is a 99.9% chance of spoilers within this episode. Proceed accordingly.
She's always got such sound advice, doesn't she? So remember, if you haven't seen the episode yet, now is the time to go check it out because it is a doozy. Layers of the onion surrounding the mystery of Dr. Halsey and the nature of the Spartan program have been peeled back, and it looks like Halsey is going to have some tough questions to answer. Take a look.
I was planning the future.
Whose future? Not mine.
No, mine. The future of our species. Natural evolution is failing us.
In the interest of answering some of those big questions, we're joined by none other than the woman who started the Spartan program to begin with, Dr. Halsey herself, the amazing Natasha Mcelhon. Natasha, welcome to Declassified.
Thank you for having me, Sydney. Hi.
Yeah, so excited to dive deeper into the brain of Dr. Halsey. Speaking of which, Dr. Halsey is probably one of, if not the most complicated character in the series. What appealed to you about playing a character with such a controversial moral compass?
I think just that she's controversial and complicated and slightly inscrutable, and you don't really know which direction she's coming from a lot of the time. I think she has a utilitarian approach to life, that pain is justifiable if it achieves long-term gain, or if to hurt a few to save many. That's sort of a philosophy. We had lots of debates about all of this stuff, in fact, and how to freight it and where the balance should be.
So this episode in particular has a lot of big reveals about Halsey and the early days of the Spartan program. Even after everything we learn, why do you think Halsey believes that the end justifies the means?
I think for her, anything's justifiable because we're about to open ourselves up to a whole new consciousness, a new experience where we're about to conserve human intelligence forever, whereas right now we're on the precipice of maybe being annihilated by the Covenant, and we're endlessly involved in war. We're not using our resources properly. We are repeating ourselves. We're stuck in a cycle. It's not my personal moral universe, but I think she feels that you have to kill a few soldiers to win the war.
Obviously, Halsey is brilliant. She's a brilliant mind in this universe, and she does believe that the work that she's doing is going to change the trajectory of the world, as you were saying. How much of it is this conviction that she's maybe the chosen one to usher us into that versus, a more selfish belief of ego and how smart she is, and she wants to be the person that does that?
I definitely think there's a lot of ego involved. In fact, I think what's interesting about her is that her curiosity does kind of trump her ego. I think there's a lot of hubris there, and I definitely think because she's been so self-reliant for so long, she's almost dumb to advice and other people's opinions. It doesn't feel like she's a collaborator at all. I'm sure she's impossible to deal with, but I guess what's sometimes inspiring about those characters is they are the ones that make discoveries. I mean, what's interesting about scientists generally, having done, a little bit of research for this role and read more science than I ever would normally in my life, I just noticed how hard they are on themselves about, need for proof all the time. Unlike anyone, or for me, I speak for myself, in the arts or humanities where, a little bit of waffle can get you quite a long way. For her, she's been messing around with cloning for a very long time. You know, she has not just her instincts, but she's been doing scientific experiments and has the results and the data to uphold her set of fervent beliefs. So all of those things I think are different and make very interesting to play.
Even as they are ousting her, Halsey seems to protect the UNSC higher ups when John asks about the nature of the Spartan program. Why do you think she does that?
She's very aware of the sacrifice that's been made. But I think, what's the point in dragging more people down than need to be dragged down? And if she's going to take the hit, she knows she's going to take the hit. She's, you know, morally complex. I like the fact, or I hope that we haven't gone into the sort of slightly moustache twiddling, you know, Cruella de Vil territory of the female villain.
How does Halsey view her relationship with the Spartans?
I think they are very much, you know, her creation. They were, in a sense, was a great cover for a lot of the other work that she was doing that she didn't have permission for and was perhaps, you know, carrying out illegally. But given that it was done under the umbrella of this program that was incredibly successful militarily and had the support of the UNSC, she could sort of, you know, push her luck. She's incredibly protective of the Spartans, though. I think she's incredibly proud of, you know, what she has achieved, but she wants to upgrade them. She wants to go to the next level, and obviously Cortana is you know, one version of that.
So once Halsey had Miranda, did that change her perspective on the Spartan program? Now a mother, having understood what it must have felt like to take these children away from other mothers for her experimentation?
For Halsey, motherhood, as far as she's concerned, she's given John and the other Spartans the opportunity of a lifetime. She's made them into gods. Whereas I think for Halsey, a biological connection is just, it's a substrate. It's just not that interesting. She maybe cares more about Cortana, who is a hologram. I mean, she's not human. Obviously, we have a limited lifespan, but I don't think Halsey sees things in that way. I think as far as she's concerned, she's going to upload herself forever. So she's not limited by her biology, in a sense. So therefore, I don't think she's limited by a particular affinity to familial or biological relationships. She's in a different dimension than I am anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I'm so excited to learn more about Halsey because similar to what's attracted you to the character, I think, as a fan, an audience member, it's just so interesting, the nuance and the kind of moral compass being so different than what we can understand, which you alluded to. But let's talk about her relationship with Chief in particular. What does she see in him?
Well, you know, funnily enough, going back to, I guess, the sort of ego of a scientist or maybe even a parent too, that I think John can do no wrong. I mean, I think she really believes he's a sort of perfect human because he doesn't get in the way of his or anyone else's progress. He's this machine. He's indefatigable and incontrollable, and he's just the perfect version of a human being, but obviously becomes much more human throughout the show. He discovers his humanity. You know, until that point, I think he's had enormous trust in her. And obviously, the more human he becomes and the more he starts to value the things that human beings today, anyway, in this era, care about. And I love the sort of triangle of Cortana, Halsey, and Master Chief. These two creations of hers blend and bond and rebel against her, but in a strange way, you know, a bit like maybe a good parent. She's thrilled by that and sort of almost proud of their progress together. I don't know. It's strange. I love all that, though. I love all that complexity and that it doesn't necessarily go exactly where you expect it to. And hopefully that will continue in season 2 and onwards.
So you've done work in video games before. What's it like finding yourself in a live action version of one of the world's most popular games?
This was a sort of baptism of fire, but my husband used to play the game when it came out. It's been in this house, in the walls of this house for, 2 decades in one form or another, if not played by him than my boys. And then now there's a sort of, I guess, a rededication to Halo, and they're playing Infinite now. I'm really glad that I got to make a TV show of that I will say.
Does your child who is playing Infinite, does he just think you're the coolest since you're doing this thing, or are you still mom?
I'm afraid I've never managed to win the cool vote, which is as it should be. It's all good.
So without spoiling future episodes, what are you most excited for fans to see or learn about Dr. Halsey?
I guess a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, I think we should be having more conversations like this anyway. I find them just incredibly compelling, very interesting, and very worth discussing and exploring. And a lot of us have our heads in the sand, and we don't want to think about it. But I think we have to, and we have to take responsibility.
Well, Natasha, thank you so much for coming by and for allowing us to get into the mind of Dr. Halsey a bit more.
Well, thank you so much for having me and letting me waffle on. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all enjoy the show. I think it gets better and better, in fact.
We've got an incoming transmission from a very special Halo fan. I'm going to patch it through right now.
Hi, my name is Steele. I'm an artist and I'm a big Halo fan. Today I'll be drawing a picture of Quan from Halo the series, and I'll be doing it with pencil and paper. Halo's always been kind of a big part of my life, and it's just sort of a huge part of my childhood, my teenage years, and even now I still play a lot of Infinite and a lot of Halo CE multiplayer. I've been drawing since as long as I could pick up crayons. Since I was a toddler, you know, I was always just doodling, sketching. So I mean, even as like a 10-year-old, I want to say, like I was already drawing Master Chief. Seeing Halo in live action is something that fans have been wanting to see since the games came out. So I mean, like finally getting to see the Master Chief just tearing through the Covenant is super cool. I feel like they've done a really great job bringing the world to life. All of the production design, the tech, the armor, the weapons, it's like straight out of the game. I really like Quan as a character. I think Yaren Ha does a great job bringing her to life. She's excellent as the emotional core of the show. For the piece I'm doing, I'm referencing a shot from episode 2, right after Chief leaves Quan with Soren. So I'm using pencil and paper. Just love sort of like how tactile it is, how like the graphite kind of rubs off on your fingers a little bit. It just sort of has a texture of, you know, I'm making something. So yeah, after lockdown hit, I suddenly found myself with a lot of free time, just like everyone else. And it ended up becoming sort of an opportunity to get back into the habit of sketching and just spending time with pencil and paper. So I, you know, realized that I might as well share it with people. So I started posting to Instagram and TikTok, and it sort of became a thing where, you know, I was just really excited to be able to create for myself, for the process, for the experience, for the learning, but also, you know, getting to see, you know, people's reactions and sometimes getting ideas from friends and family members. So, you know, it's sort of all part of the lifelong journey, I guess, to becoming a professional artist, as that's the end goal.
Spartans, I'm receiving an incoming transmission from the composer for Halo the series, who was kind enough to walk us through the process for creating the music for the show.
Hi, I'm Sean Callery, and I'm the composer of Halo for Paramount Plus. When I was 11 years old, I saw the movie Jaws. And that movie, for me, really sort of blew the doors off my mind in terms of, wow, I didn't know music could have that kind of power, you know, against moving images. And so I was only 11, and I didn't know the first thing about how to get into this, how to get into scoring. But I had a dream about doing this probably from that moment on. And then I got a job in Los Angeles working for a music company that was selling new products to composers. And that's when I met my mentor and friend, Mark Snow, who composed for The X-Files. He helped me get my first television show, La Femme Nikita, on the USA Network back in the 90s. And then those producers went on to make 24. And it was all about sort of building experience day by day and show by show. And that brought me to Halo. And when I was interviewed for the show in March of 2021, I had to come clean. I said, look, I don't know if this hurts me or not. I said, but I don't have a lot of experience playing the game. But they let me see the pilot and read the first couple of scripts, and I was just so struck by the immersiveness and expansiveness of the story. And I realized that this is a separate canon thread from the main vein of the game history. But you still are in the Halo universe, very much so. And I was pretty riveted. And the action is fantastic, but the characters are really why we show up. They were very clear with me that they wanted to have some new themes, and they wanted to have some new textures, and they wanted to embark on some new color and so forth, because there were some new characters and the introduction to some new worlds. As a composer, I had to figure out how we were going to do it. So the very first thing I started working on was John's theme, and that's Master Chief theme, which is sort of in the main title. And I always felt that we had to be connected very organically to the gaming experience, because and that was really the nature of a lot of conversations, was to how to honor where this project comes from. We spent a lot of time finding the right tone for the first episode.
Just start a little bit quieter and then crescendo and then come down again.
That sound good, Sean?
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's the idea, okay.
But I tried to allocate at least 2 weeks of writing, and there's at least 35 to 42 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes of score per episode. So that's a meaty minute count. Every episode always had a very unique mood and flavor and sort of storyline. And I always found when I was looking at the episode for the first time with the producers, there was always some scene that was really big, and you're like, oh God, what the hell are we going to do there? If you go to episode 3, during the sequence where the clone is dissolved and Cortana is formed, is created, that's like a 3-minute sequence where no one's really speaking. And then he walks through the world with the chip out, and then he comes to those cellists and in the park, which that was actually I love that scene. That was filmed before I joined, so they were just playing something. I don't even know what they were actually playing. I actually had to reverse engineer the piece of music. I wrote the piece, and I got a sense of their tempo based on the bowing strokes. So that was another really yummy challenge. So one of the greatest scenes in the entire series for me is in episode 6. And if you go to the end of it, it is when McKee and John arrive finally at the Halo, this space that no one's ever seen before. And I knew right there and then it had to be a very unique, never before, whatever sound was going to be there, it was going to have to be very unique. and I was working on palettes and things for that world, which had they're in this open meadow, and it's sunny, and it's beautiful. And before I even got hired on the series, in the first year of COVID, I'd come across a composer, Colin Stetson, who had a very talented composer and musician. And I forgot what piece I'd heard of him, but there was something so transcendent about the way he played and performed. And I had this idea. When I got to episode 6 and I was spotting it, there were some people on the crew from Halo who were also fans of Mr. Stetson. So this sort of fun little question came up, which was, geez, I wonder, what if I just wrote him? You know, what if I just wrote him and asked if he'd be willing to play on this scene? And then we started collaborating on it even further together from that moment on. I knew I was part of the way there, and I just had this instinct that my hope anyway, that we would find this kind of really, you know, magical sort of moment, is this place where we kind of come together with both our contributions. And the Halo theme is in there too, by the way. Anyway, that was a good moment. And I hope you will enjoy it as much as I did. It's been a magical, challenging, but also magical and very rewarding journey creatively. I couldn't ask for anything more as an artist.
It's not easy for civilians to make a show with so much military lingo and techniques, even if it's set in the far future. Luckily, Dan Hurst, the military advisor on Halo, was around to lend his expertise.
Move out. Action.
Training has been extremely intense.
Dig.
It has been rewarding and extremely professional. And this is how we like it, you know, because the Spartans don't stop till we get the job done.
I really sort of realized how big of a production this was when I came over for training. We did a 1-week military boot camp and did a bunch of other training things while we were here.
I feel like almost going through my own augmentation process. I feel like I'm doing this augmentation in real life.
There we go. Have a look at that magazine. All right, great.
We did a kind of military boot camp with Dan Hurst, our military advisor, and yeah, that was amazing.
If you fall on your face, get the up, get back in the fight. No excuses.
We did a whole week of military training with him here in Budapest, just learning formations and how to use armory and guns and footwork and everything to do with military basis.
If you're out of ammunition, put one away and then deal with one pistol at a time. There we go.
My name is Dan Hurst. I'm a military advisor on Halo. Today we just had to expose the actors to blank firing. It's the first time they've fired blanks, some on other shows, but working as a team together.
So, from that diamond formation, person on left's gonna call contact left. Contact left! That person is immediately the only one firing while everyone else gets their position.
And they realised how important it is to work as a team and why it's a problem if you don't.
Yeah, it's your time to move. You have a magazine ready to go that's loaded, so that's on you. But secondarily, it's on you too. If you're gonna call advance, you want to make sure everybody is ready with the gun in the fight.
But they have to understand the intensity of what they're doing, how drilled and intense they have to be, even when they're not in action, and how they've got to work together as a team, just walking around, patrolling, and they're just, they've been a team since they were 9 years old.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's been
better, right?
Yeah. Boom. So settle whenever you land. If you are about to have a conversation with Master Chief, you walk up, settle. A conversation, not an exaggeration.
All four of them have been fabulous in sort of really leaping into the physicality of it all, the training of it all. It's an enormous physical undertaking.
That's it for this episode of Halo the Series Declassified. We'll be back in just one more week with special guest Yirin Ha, who plays Quan Ha, the young girl from Madrigal who got swept up in the war against the Covenant. Thanks so much to Natasha Mcelhon for stopping by today, and as always, to all of you for watching. You can stream new episodes of Halo every Thursday exclusively on Paramount Plus. Until next week, I'm Sydney Goodman. Ball out, Spartans.
My father's dead now. He was killed defending Madrigal. Because of something you told him. This place changed him. I want to know what you said to him.
And why should we tell you?
Because I'm going to finish what he started.
You didn't start with your father. There were others in your family before him.
I'm all that's left of my family. Everyone else is dead, so tell me what you told my father. Please.
You're not ready.
I'm not a child. I came all this way by myself. I've risked everything looking for you.
You're not ready.
I took on a man twice my size and won. I'll fight you all if I have to.
Your rage blinds you to the truth.
Rage is all I have left.